Welcome in, fans, to another episode of This Week in CAA Football, presented by GEICO. Tim McDonald and Bobby Broyles here as always. Tim, we've reached the quarterfinals, and it's time for all of CAA football collectively to get behind Richmond. But first, let's take a look back at last weekend's second-round action.
Let me ask you, what are some of the keys that I talked to you about last week for James Madison?
Rushing the football was definitely
Yep, rushing the football. Okay, they took care of that. Rush defense, that was absolutely a huge factor in the loss to Colgate, 44-38. Dukes trailed 17-0 in that game early and really just dug themselves in a hole they couldn't get out of. 343-147, that's the advantage Colgate held on the run game. And you know, Jake Melville, the quarterback, had 165 yards. James Holland, the running back for Colgate, had 163 yards. That was absolutely key. And you hate to pin it on the defense for James U, but the offense didn't play too bad. A couple of turnovers cost them, but ultimately the run game for Colgate was a huge factor. James Madison had a chance to come back in that game with the win. Unfortunately, Colgate got it done inside the 10-yard line on 4 plays, and James Madison's season comes to an end. Hats off to the Dukes, though. Really did earn that seed. I truly believe that they still did earn that seed. Unfortunately, that's the playoffs. You know, you have to show up every week. Richmond, I mean, an absolute shocker. I was at that contest, 48-13 over William & Mary. That's a William & Mary team who's not only a conference opponent, but your most hated rival. So that's a tough pill to swallow if you're William & Mary. Again, run game was a huge factor. Saw Richmond rush for 302 yards and hold the Tribe for the second time this season to under 100 yards, only had 92 yards rushing. And the big plays, I mean, Richmond's defense only gave up 214 yards. Who called that? No. That's amazing. And Richmond offensively got it done with 6 rushing touchdowns. Jacoby Green, I mean, stud to the regular season, stud to the postseason so far. 141 yards and 3 touchdowns. You look at Kyle Auletta, didn't really need to take over the game because the rush attack was working so well. David Jones, I mean, a 50-yard punt return, that was huge, okay. What else does he do? Picks off Steve Cluley for a 100-yard-plus interception return. Richmond got it done in all phases of the game, a dominating win. That's the playoffs. You survive in advance, and Richmond proved that it was ready to play on Saturday.
Yes, they did. And with that Richmond win, it's now up to the Spiders to carry the CAA football banner. Richmond will have a short week as Danny Rocco's team gets ready to travel to the number 2 seed, Illinois State, for a Friday night game at 7:30 on ESPN3. CAA football has some history with the Redbirds, Tim.
Indeed they do. You know, you look at that game last season, FCS playoffs, semifinals at New Hampshire. Illinois State's trailing in the third quarter, 18-6. Everything's looking good. All of a sudden, the Redbirds come back. Same quarterback, same running back. A lot of the same pieces are back from this Illinois State team. Remember, they advanced to the national title game. This is a tough task for Richmond. Obviously, like we said, Illinois State is a team out of the Valley who's the number 2 seed, well-deserving. Illinois State played a heck of a schedule. A team, like I said, Trey Roberson, the quarterback, gets it done. He's a dual-threat guy. And Marshawn Koprich is a running back who's rushed for nearly 2,000 yards as the Missouri Valley Football Offensive Player of the Year. Keep an eye on the line of scrimmage in this game. Illinois State averages 247 rush yards per game. Richmond allows 152.7. This is going to be huge. Andrew Clyde, David Herlocker, Omar Howard, David Jones, a guy who we've already talked about. The defense for Richmond is going to win this game. I know we talk about Richmond's offense, deservedly so. We talk about the rush attack of Jacoby Green. We did see Seth Fisher back last week, so that's going to be a huge part of this contest. Can they mix in Fisher, especially in the pass game? Lauletta, I think this is his opportunity. I think this is Richmond's game to win, but they're going to have to get it done up first on defense. Look at Koprich, the running back for Illinois State, 1,900-plus yards, 22 touchdowns. Trey Roberson, 741 yards, 11 touchdowns. He's also pretty good throwing, 16 touchdowns versus 8 interceptions. The offense for Illinois State moves and thrives on the success of Roberson and Koprich. It's a zone read scheme. A lot of teams obviously have that type of offense. Illinois State is good because of those 2 players, and deservedly so. Those guys have been huge factors for this. I think the key for Richmond offensively, we know the run game, if it's going to have any success. If Jacoby Green is going to be able to slip through those holes and break loose a couple of 20-yard gains, Richmond's going to have a chance in this contest. I think the key, though, is going to be the passing game. We know Lauletta last week threw 2 picks, like we said earlier, had 2 rushing touchdowns, really, you know, didn't really light up the scoreboard passing-wise.
He didn't have to do much.
Exactly. If Richmond's run game is in trouble, I think that's where they're going to be a huge part of this game. Illinois State allows 214 pass yards per game. Talk about Brian Brown and Reggie Diggs. They need to step up, and they need to have a huge contest. Illinois State plays in the Valley and plays some really good team, but I can almost guarantee they've never seen 2 wide receivers with the capability of Reggie Diggs and Brian Brown, especially on the same team. That's going to be absolutely a large part of this contest is going to result on Richmond's ability to throw the ball, because I think that's where they're going to find most success. Anthony Warham for Illinois State, the receiver, number 82, has 49 catches, 14 touchdowns. That's a single-season record, but the next closest player in receptions is Koprich with 15. We know what Illinois State's going to do. They're going to try to run the ball. It's Friday night. It's the playoffs. I know Richmond's going up there an extra day earlier to prepare for it. It's going to be a heck of a matchup and really a chance for Richmond not only to show the nation what CAA football is all about, to show the rest of the league, it's okay, guys, we got your back.
Remember, folks, cafootball.com has links to watch the ESPN3 broadcasts and follow live stats from Friday night's contest between the Spiders and the Redbirds.
And the Yak podcast returns tomorrow with a shortened edition, but it will still be packed with all the info you need for the Friday playoff matchup. Yep. Eric and the commish will actually be live at Hancock Stadium on Friday. And, of course, you can bet our CAA football Twitter and Instagram accounts will be working overtime to provide live updates throughout the game.
Richmond will be looking for some of that Friday Night Lights magic on the road, Tim. Should be an entertaining game and hopefully some conference revenge against Illinois State.
Like I said before, it's a great shot for Richmond and CAA football in general against the Valley. In a primetime playoff atmosphere, nothing better this time of the year.
Indeed. Enjoy Friday night's game, and we'll be here to break it down next Wednesday on This Week in CAA Football.